So it seems Pedro Pascal, the movie star in pretty much every film and TV show these days, has seen the STANS documentary, as the quote Hansi star took to IG stories shortly after STANS hit Paramount Plus. He posted this on IG stories with the GOAT emoji, and while the STANS documentary is reportedly #1 on Paramount Plus right now, it is also climbing the iTunes charts in the United States and United Kingdom, and in the former it is #5 right now, and in the latter it is at #10 all genres. And for the hip-hop genre, it is currently #1 in both markets. And as you'd see, someone was already rallying his fan base to change the results in the United States, and we'll get to more on this in a moment, including an update that pretty much clears up the backlash that Eminem and his team have faced over the fact that the STANS album just had one new song. And before we dive into it, we also got more saved up for the latter part of the video, like Game providing an update on his relationship with Dre, and also a clash between Suge Knight and Drake over the authenticity of Tupac's chain. And on Tupac, we got Mariah Carey to add to the long list of celebrities who wanted quote entanglements with Tupac, and we found out thanks to an interview that hit the web just hours ago. And starting with STANS, rapper who spent $100,000 on an Eminem beat/NFT decided to share this hours ago. Here we go. Eminem just crept up to #2. We are trying to keep my song at #1 for the second week in a row, but that wasn't enough to keep everybody's looking at me from going #1. And when you think about it, this man spent $100,000 on that Eminem NFT, and he's not been acknowledged even once by Eminem after several attempts to get his attention, showing that this Stan-ish can get very expensive and results aren't guaranteed. And on a serious note, we get an update that explains why we got just one unreleased song on the STANS soundtrack album. Update: the collaborations with Proof and D12 were pulled from the soundtrack last minute due to sample clearance issues, and neither Am nor Proof's team could solve it in time for release. A source has confirmed more will be coming out soon, but didn't elaborate on what that might be. And apparently even Mr. Hicks, who was reportedly Proof's brother-in-law, who told us that Proof's estate is now in charge of his publishing, looks to be one of the sources who has confirmed the news that the two songs failed to make the final release due to sample clearance issues. And this is going two ways right now. On one end, some have expanded. M has a whole Relapse 2 in his vault.
Let it go, Spencer. It's over.
He could have released some of that, to which a user expanded. Eminem said if it wasn't good enough to make it into that album, it was bum, and you're better off not hearing it, or something along those lines. He hates everything he made from 2006 to 2008, and the only stuff he deemed good enough was on Relapse. I've heard leaked tracks, and in my opinion, they are very enjoyable, so it sucks how M hates all that stuff he did, even though what I've heard was very catchy, and some even took it further. Maybe they should clear it before selling it to people. While on the other end, some users could explain why the soundtrack came out yesterday, but the Premier Popcorn Bucket said out now. Maybe it was delayed to try and get it figured out in time, you know? They could have just said that. LOL. But all in all, this finally explains why we didn't get the D12 and Proof song on the soundtrack album. And moving on, the same Game who told the world that
he my Dre right now. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
You answered that very fast.
It's crazy that Ye did more for me in the last 2 weeks than Dre did for me my whole career.
The same Game recently provided an update on his relationship with Dre, pulled up on dog, ran into a cat, got cool with a Dre, and created a monster is how my day went. #documentary3. And while some have expanded under, glad you fixed the situation with Dre, now talk to 50 and let's get this G-Unit shot back on track. But I'd say users should proceed with caution, as if you recall, in a recent story we covered, Memphis Bleak spoke on how he'd meet up with Game and everything would be cool, but as soon as he gets on a flight, Game would be in the studio, dropping dozens of diss tracks on him.
So I see Game in LA and walk up on me like, yo, Bleak, what up, fam? I want to introduce myself to you. My name is Game. So I'm like, click, click, click. Oh, they said this to me. So I stand up. What's up, fam? Why you dissing me? So he like, yo, Bleak, I ain't diss you. I never shitted on you. So I'm like, he showed mad love, everything, right? But he was saying he never dissed me. So I'm like, you ain't diss me? Cool, my Is love is peace. As I was on the flight going home, he must have booked the studio session and did 45 disses. In that 6 hours it take to fly from LA to New York, when I land, you know, I had about 20 disses.
I mean, even 50 Cent gave the best explanation so far. So game may be cool with Dre right now, but things could change in 24 hours based on the stories we've heard about the game. And over on Reddit, under the thread, the game and Dre made peace think it'll ever happen with M or 50, and some are even convinced that he's talking about Cool and Dre and not Dr. Dre. But with the game, you can't be sure of anything. And moving on, Drake recently shared a couple of photos that included Tupac holding a death row chain and additional photos of a death row chain. And while this initially sparked heated debates on IG, as his post was flooded with takes like, "You can buy the shoes, but you'll never be able to fill them. Dude still ain't learned his lesson," and more, buying just to fit in the culture. And now we got Suge Knight out here. I mean, locked up, phoning in to rain on Drake's parade. Check it out from the Art of Dialogue.
When Pac came home, I went to go visit Pac. And when I got Pac out, he came home and we was going somewhere at the time. He said, "Oh, I kill all your niggas. They all got those death row chains." I'm like, "Shit, I'm gonna make you one." He was like, "Shit, you my big bro. Let me wear yours. That's more important. I don't want a first one. I want to wear the one you got." So my death row chain at the time was full of diamonds on the chain and full of diamonds on the bezel. Pac came home and got that chain. Not after Christmas, not after New Year's. He already had it. And 1,000%, I heard a few people say that there was something wrong on there. One should run on that chain or the charm. Definitely not the chain, but the charm on the back wasn't nothing. And it was one of the best jewelers in California. When it's all said and done, that's not a Tupac chain. That's not a death row chain. But back to Drake, whoever sold you that chain, Drake, you need to go beat his motherfucking ass. He played you. Matter of fact, on the low, shoot that fool's name and number. Address if you got it.
And the reactions to this are going, as you'd expect, split between Team Drake and Team Kendrick. And on one end, y'all hate Drake so much for what? He never said it was the original chain, just that it was Tupac's, of which the jeweler who created it confirmed it was one he made for Tupac. Why do y'all want to hate a man you'll never meet? While on the other end, since Suge Knight's credibility is already getting called into question in many posts like these, Suge Knight literally sold multiple death row chains to this exact company. No one said it was original, it is just one of Tupac's chains he had. Y'all so obsessed with Drake, y'all would try to discredit someone's rap and their company just because Drake bought something from them. Man posts a picture of himself, y'all go crazy. Post a podcast, y'all go crazy. I don't think we have ever seen something like this before. And now some have fired back at the fans doubting Suge Knight with Drake fans about to call the man who actually gave Pac the actual chain a liar instead of taking the L. And more on this note, watch them say Suge Knight doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'll be looking forward to your thoughts on Suge Knight claiming that Drake bought a fake chain. And speaking on Tupac, Mariah Carey might have Jada on her neck real soon, all thanks to an interview where she revealed how she got, quote, raised up by Tupac.
I'm wondering if you know the story I'm going to tell, but in the book there's a story of a young man that you saw driving in with the Rolls Royce, and he says, "Hey Mariah," and then that whole night you were like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like butterflies."
Yes, more than butterflies.
Tupac Shakur. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in that music video, I'm like, okay, this could be that.
They could have turned that around and made it that. Right. Perfect.
Yeah. The moment was like at the AMAs, and Pac had pulled up and said, "Hey Mariah," and the way that you wrote, I love your pen, because it's like my name just came out of his mouth like smoke. Like it was just a beautiful like. Mm-hmm. "Hi Mariah." And then that whole night it was like Mariah was like, "Oh my gosh, he said hi to me." But you're Mariah Carey.
Well, he said it like, "Hi Mariah."
Yes, Mariah.
And I was like, he knows who I am. And I was hosting the AMAs that year, so I
you
had
were
to
busy.
I had to keep going back and forth, but I wanted to keep going back and forth because that happened.
Would you have done a song with him? I know that
Yes.
that would have been, I guess, the perfect
Iconic.
moment. Unfortunately, we lost him too soon.
I know.
But seeing what you did with hip hop, where you were able to combine the two, especially around the moment that you did, it wasn't too, I guess they weren't telling you, hey, this is something you should do, this would better your career. This is something you did in spite of anyone telling you not to.
It was definitely in spite of anyone telling me not to. And I just, I loved hip hop and I loved the moments that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Especially Hi Mariah. So yeah, it was a pretty major moment for me.
Yeah.
To say the least.
That would have been the power couple of all power couples. I'm telling you, Mariah. Like, no one.
I wish.
Oh my God.
I love that.
And of course, this sparked reactions like Jada Pinkett about to drop a diss record. And on the whole power couple idea, some have expanded. Power couple, after 2 days of dating, she would say, I don't know him, and put him in an awkward situation. Tupac was lucky in this situation it didn't happen. And I don't have to spell it out, it is obvious, because this happened with a GOAT rapper, if you know what I mean. And if you recall, even the Miza confirmed that Mariah did take flights to the D.
And we're flying from New York to LA, and she's like, hey, we're gonna stop off in Detroit. And I said, we? And so the next thing I know, we're at Eminem's house. And they disappear, you know what I mean? And
Did he give you a look when you saw him?
yeah, no, I mean, she was on him. Do you know what I mean at this point?
And it is not just Jada, some have expanded. Nick Cannon loading Tupac diss tracks as we speak. But when it comes to Pac, she would have had to join the queue, as while they are out here talking about power couple, but in reality, it would have been more like Pac's harem. And that will be all for today, and I'll be looking forward to your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.